I was just thinking, James, that I met you probably 2015, 2016, was it?
We met first in a room. It wasn't square or oblong, it was funny shape, and you were there giving a presentation from because I thought, who's this wild woman from the Highlands of the Islands? So
I remember that room. It was quite dark, wasn't it? Wasn't it in Perth? It might have been in Perth at a Life Changes Trust event.
No, I just can't remember. But you were there with somebody. I don't know if you spoke or not.
No, I think you came in to watch the presentation, and you came in after everybody else, so I noticed you. And I thought, oh, who's this? So that was the first time I saw you. Yeah, that was probably 2015. So, yeah, quite recently, though, in your career with dementia, if you like, because you were diagnosed in 1999.
Mm-hmm.
It's like 22 years now. My goodness. I was just sort of reflecting on how long I've known you and how it's no time at all, is it really, in the amount of time that you've been campaigning? Thank you. So there's so much I don't know about the work that you've done, James. You have an MBE.
Mm-hmm.
What was
I think that was 2013. That was for my long-term work with people with dementia since 2001.
Mm-hmm. So services.
It might even be 2000. Yeah, it could be 2000.
It's a lot of years to dedicate.
So, sorry?
That's a lot of years to dedicate to helping other people.
Mm-hmm.
What was the day like? Do you remember the day?
When I was diagnosed?
No, when you were awarded your MBE.
You mean when I was told, or when I got it pinned on me?
Oh, both. I don't know anything about the process. Tell me.
Well, I remember getting a letter and tossing it aside, and didn't mean much at the time, because sometimes dementia can make you a bit, it can erode your feelings a wee bit, so you don't get excited the way you used to.
Mm-hmm.
It's just part of the illness. I mean, just read it and tossed it aside. Maureen picked it up and read it and said, "Oh, it's great."
Wow. And then you had the big day when you went to collect it.
Yes, I remember that very well, because to go from Glasgow to Edinburgh and the M8, we left in plenty of time. And there's a crash in M8. All the traffic was being diverted off it. So I told Maureen a route I knew through Humains and wherever else, but up past Shots, that's Humains Shots. I came to a crossroads controlled by traffic lights, and the queue was horrendous. The trouble is, people coming from either side, left and right, they're hardly empty, but they got the full length of the traffic lights, the same coming the other direction. So there should have been a policeman there letting us through when, putting the lights off, directing the people through, because we were running into the castle.
Oh my goodness. Wow. But did it all the struggles of getting there, did it kind of fade away once you got into the room?
Well, we were separated. People getting the badge went one way, the family went another way.
Mm-hmm. Did you feel sort of a sense of achievement and pride when you received it?
Not really. As I say, dementia, I think, robs you of your deep feelings. Mm-hmm. You still get feelings, but things that were important before might not be important now.
Mm-hmm. So have you experienced that sort of sense of achievement since, when you're able to use those letters after your name?
The trouble is, a lot of my stuff was years ago, and there's nobody else doing it. Mm-hmm. So I felt a sense of achievement that, say, I went to England a lot, down as far as the Midlands. And but
Mhm.
now I was encouraging people to get up, stand on their feet and speak, and that's what happened. So they're talking now, and so there's no need for me now down there.
Wow, you're a pioneer, James.
Mhm. Yes. I think I felt more, but in recent years I haven't done as much as I would like. I've done various things like with the Scottish Dementia Alumni.
Hmm. Absolutely. We'll come to that in a moment. You've also got an honorary doctorate, James. You're a
Mm-hmm.
doctor. Which
Mm-hmm.
university is this from?
University of Strathclyde in Glasgow.
Uh-huh. Is
I'd
that
have
for your
worked,
camp? Sorry?
I'd worked a long time with them. I don't know how I got involved. It must have been around about 2002 or that. And I think that's for somebody to come and speak to the students. Because I
Mhm.
remember, obviously, the bike would come out, and there was this big row that seemed to go right up in the air of people looking at you. It was daunting. So,
Wow.
but I struggled through, and then it asked me to join a service user and carers group back then. So I've been working for them ever since, apart from 2020, of course.
Mhm.
So,
My
so
goodness.
that was recognition of the work I've been doing for the community.
Absolutely. The amount of years that you put into it, you could have earned yourself a PhD in that time, couldn't you?
Mm.
You've earned it in experience and sharing your knowledge. It's brilliant. Speaking at conferences, did that come naturally to you, James? I mean, I don't know what you've done in your work before having a diagnosis, but was that in your line of work, speaking to the
No,
public?
no, I worked with paper all day long.
Mhm.
1st of January, you would sit down at your desk, paper would come in on your left, you'd do the, put it in the right to get rid of it. 31st of December, doing the same thing.
Mhm.
So there's not really any job satisfaction, apart from knowing you'd done your best for the
Mhm.
customers.
But now, this has been like a whole other career, supporting other people with dementia.
Mm-hmm. Yes, yes, it was, because there was, at that time, there was nobody
Mhm.
advocating for dementia. And
Mhm.
so I think, I dragged it to the forefront, and then let others see that you don't get written off when you're diagnosed. There'll be some things you can still do, some things you might not be able to do, say like counting money, but there are other things you can do, and you can relearn old skills, and you can learn new things. Say, for
Mhm.
example, I never worked with a computer in my working life. It's all a pen, and I got taught the email, and you had to go to 3 times the courses where I got it.
Look at you now on Zooms all the time.
Yeah, because I'm on the email every day, several times a day, and I can't do things like somebody sends me an attachment, I can't reply to it. I've got to send it in
Uh-huh.
the body of the email, and I can type in the
Oh,
answer.
so there are workarounds to those things.
Mhm.
Hmm. So campaigning must be so different now. I was speaking with Nancy this week about how campaigning is so different for her. It
Mhm.
must be enormously different for you now, since you first started. I don't think campaigning was on Zoom at the beginning.
No, it only went in Zoom after the COVID came.
Hmm. Do you think it might help you in the future, though, James? Because now you don't travel so much, you might be able to be more involved with things that you wouldn't have been able to without Zoom.
The answer is yes, but not to the same extent, because
Mm-hmm.
I used to say, like, go to Still University, do a
Mm-hmm.
presentation for an hour, and immediately do another one together with my wife. But I find that after a few minutes talking, my voice goes, so I can't do a presentation again.
Mm-hmm.
Luckily, I've got a DVD of most of my main presentation. So,
You've made a lot of resources, James. You've made films about particular things. We've made a couple. We've made one about creativity and your beautiful photographs that you've taken. I know people have made songs from your lyrics.
Mhm. They're my own songs, but again, I can't transmit them. So they'd had to put their own music to it, and which I quite like, you know. They did a great job.
It's wonderful. I was playing your Christmas song at Christmas. It's become a new classic in our house. So you mentioned the Scottish Dementia Alumni, James. You said to me a few weeks ago that you set that up to support people who were newly diagnosed originally.
Sorry, could you repeat that question?
You were talking about the Scottish Dementia Alumni, and a little while ago you said to me that the original thought behind it was that you've got all of these skills that you've earned over the years as a group, having so many years of experience of being diagnosed, and you wanted to help other people who were newly diagnosed.
Mm-hmm.
But it's, you've done so much campaigning through the alumni.
So I remember I started back, I would say 2000, and but it was only one around. And then I went to meetings about dementia and spoke to anybody with dementia that was there and told them about their thoughts. So with Heather and Brenda, we set it up. There was a wee bit doubt about would people want to come, and the answer was a firm yes, because nobody listened to them. They wouldn't even ask you the time off your watch. Just come ignored and patted in the head. And so it was a revelation to some, because it must have been the same for people for the last 100 years. They had this desire to talk, but they weren't allowed to, they weren't listened to.
Mm-hmm.
So it's good that is one achievement I'm proud of, that it's inspired others to get
Absolutely.
out there and show dementia. It's not a life sentence, not a death sentence. It's a different life, but it can still be a decent life if you've got the right attitude.
That's fantastic, James.
I would never have met you if it hadn't been for dementia.
Oh, bless you. I wouldn't have met you either. So it's not all bad, is it? I know you don't use Twitter, James, but there's been quite a lot of really lovely, positive messages about the alumni on Twitter this week. About the what's the name?
That's how it starts.
Dementia Awareness Week on Twitter. There's been so much really positive coverage and attention of the Scottish Dementia alumni, and there's been so much talk about the brilliant booklets that you've made. Earlier on, you did the Driving with Dementia booklet, which was the first booklet that I'd ever seen, where a person with dementia had created a resource to share with other people, a booklet. I don't think it was the first one ever, was it? You mentioned something earlier today about...
Three of us brought out a booklet, Don't Make a Journey Alone, around about 2003. I believe it could have been the first one in the world.
Wow.
Now, when we're talking with enough information to find out a big tome, but we felt people aren't ready for that, so we cut it down to try and make it quite basic, hoping that people will start them off to looking further, look more into things.
That sounds wonderful. And since then, I sort of came along at the point that you were working on the Dementia and Self-Management project, and sort of, so I helped you with launching that one. But that was so much research, wasn't it? Was it perhaps the first research project that was actually handled by people who have dementia, who actually came up with the concept and researched that? That you must have seen so many firsts in your time.
Well, it wasn't the first, because again, around about 2001-2, I got a grant from the Millennium Commission for 2 items. One was to bring out a help card, so people could show the help card that they're needing help. You don't want to go to a bus driver or emergency and blurt it out, or standing in a queue at Greg's. So you can show the card and realise you've got a problem. With that, there was money for a calendar for people with dementia. So I didn't know anything about ethics at the time. But I went round care homes and day centres. I'd made up 8 pro formas and showed them what you like, what one would help you. And it boiled down to 3. And it really corresponded with the state of the illness, early, middle and late. But I'd only money for 1,000 calendars, so I went for the middle one. And I couldn't charge for it, so I sent it out 3 places in all over Scotland. And that might have been Stornoway as well, because it was one of the Faroe Islands. I'd never been to the island, so I just can't remember his name. So I did go to up there.
So yeah, this is very early research, designed by people who have dementia for people who have dementia. So that's wonderful. And more recently, we've the Alumni has completed the Dementia and GP Services booklet, which was really met very, very well. And now you're working on the Dementia and Preparing for the Unexpected project, which will be the next one that's out this summer. So the campaigning continues, even through lockdown. There's always a way.
I remember at the time thinking, dementia's been around a long time. Why have these things not been done by the big organisations? Why was it left to people with dementia? So again, that was a spark to doing something. It wasn't there, so create it and deal with it.
But if people with dementia are actually leading, then you've got the control, haven't you? It's a useful thing. So that's brilliant. I'll edit that together, James, and thank you for the chat. It's been lovely chatting with you.
Is that it? I was prepared for a couple of hours. So
you can say anything else you like.
Well, obviously, I don't think we've been in Zoom recently. So how's your garden and vegetable patch doing?
Well, the farmer in the field next to me planted a lot of seed, and we had loads of crows, so they came and ate quite a lot of what I planted.
I remember I had a cousin and doing up a driveway, and he bought a lot of ornamental cabbage plants. They're really lovely to look at. The rabbits decimated first night.
Oh no. Oh my goodness. You don't have
He was hopping mad.
Oh, you haven't lost your sense of humour, James.
Yes. Well, I've noticed, obviously over the years I've met enough people with dementia, and the ones with a sense of humour seem to last longer. People that moan and groan don't seem to be able to cope. I don't know whether they turn their back, their front to the wall and give up or what, but so I think a sense of humour does keep you going.
Oh, that's brilliant, James. That's been really nice chatting with you about you for a change, because we always seem to talk about a project or a campaign that you're doing or something. It never seems to be all about you, so it's been really lovely talking to you.
Well, you only get a fraction of it.
You take care, James.